Okay, we got that other bracket painted up. Let it dry just a minute. So I got this pressure tank in this box right here. As usual, there's junk on everything that sits still for a few minutes around here right now. But we got this shop to use. We didn't get it to look at. I've never seen one of these that's not blue. Let's see if this one's blue. According to the writing, we're upside down. I don't think it matters. Well, it's blue. So what's in here, I've never looked inside of one, I'm just going by what I'm told. But it's almost like a car inner tube. I don't know what the material it would be made out of, but it is flexible, it's some kind of rubber. But you have a preset pressure put in on the top part, and as your pump fills this thing up with water, then it works against that bladder. That would be the proper term for it. It's a bladder. Then it pressures up against that bladder. And as it gets to a certain pressure on your gauge, it's around here somewhere, but it's called a pressure switch. And your pressure switch, once it closes, then it cuts your pump off. You've got enough water in here and enough volume. I think this one's 40 gallons. I've seen that somewhere, maybe on my packing list. But once you use that out and your pressure switch drops down, then there's a set of contactors in there that's manual. They hadn't figured out how to make that electronic yet. But it's on a little spring system, all calibrated. So once you get down, I think this one's set for 40, 60. They are adjustable. So at 40 pounds, it tells the pump through that contactor to come on. Then at 60 pounds, it tells that pump, we can't stand no more up here. You got to quit. So then it cuts it off. But that's the basics of it as far as I know. I'm sure there's a lot more technical fancy words if you really wanted to get into it, but those people will charge you money. That's not cheap. Pretty good investment up front. I think all these pieces, parts, pumps, pressure tank, they do send good brass and stainless steel fittings, so we don't have to worry about the corrosion part. But this was like about $2,500 for the whole set. And I'm sure if I had bought piece by piece at a box store or local, this would have cost me another several hundred, if not 1,000 more. And then as far as actually drilling the well, the company's been around forever here. They're really dependable and trustworthy, but it's Henry Drilling, if you're close enough to know them. They're out of Williamson County. But when he got done, I think my bill was like $5,100 because they can't tell you up front. They don't know how deep they're going to have to go. They can tell you how much per foot or for the casing and how much per foot for the drilling, but the actual total, they can't do it. And they don't guarantee you to hit water. They just guarantee you to drill a hole. But anyway, enough rambling on about well pumps. I'm going to actually try to get this thing on the brackets. This paint's dry enough now I can touch it. This is pretty heavy. I think it'll hold it. But I'm going to mount this about right here, just off the floor on the bottom piece of this angle where it don't hold trash. I can sweep under it. But that's going to put the tank right here in this area. But anyway, just trying to keep you updated on what I'm doing here. It's going to be something different every day. If this comes out in order, I apologize for the poor video that's going to be on digging the ditch and putting the pipe in, but technical malfunctions. That's where we're at. We're going to get that T this well tee, pressure tank tee, whatever they would call that thing, on the bottom of the pressure tank here. I'm gonna get all this assembled, and I'm not gonna put all the little fragile parts on until I get it in place, because we don't want to bump that moving it or whatever. This thing here will take a little lick if we do hit it. Then we'll come back. One thing I thought about a while ago when we was talking about the pressure tank, the well, how it works. Now, if you're on public water and you have a meter, so basically if you've got a water bill, I'd say 99% of people would know they don't have a pressure tank. Your municipality will control your water pressure. Usually they're going to give you too much. You can put a pressure reducer on the house, but that's just a little small thing. But for those few people that might panic because they can't find their pressure tank after they seen or listened to this, if you got a water bill, you're not going to have a pressure tank, so don't panic. Cut a level line. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. More good. Ooh, that's strong. Now, got to find a good piece of plywood to put up here. Could have put this thing in the ceiling. I bet there's a few done like that. Okay, we got the plywood cut. I made it a little bit longer so I can hang it over here. Instead of having that metal sticking out, I'm gonna put a 2x4 down. And that way, if I get close over here, I won't bump my head. That's pretty sturdy. I don't think we'll have a problem with that. All right, we'll be right back. I've got to move a few things here. I can't pick that up and put it up there, but I've got some equipment that will. I'll be right back. Perfect. something. That worked pretty good. All right. Nice little bench. Helps things out a lot. All right, after giving a little bit of thought, I'm going to add in only one fitting that I don't like. That's this plastic 90. We're going to let this curl back over towards the wall and stay out of the way as much as possible. I think I need to trim that a little bit more. Now this is a pair of little cheap PEX cutting pliers, but it cuts this black plastic pipe pretty good. And I think it would help if you have a good smooth cut. Now this pipe is kind of stiff, so I'm not going to overdo it, but I'm going to take this heat gun that I use on that PVC conduit and warm it up a little bit. It's not fast, but it sure does help those fittings go in there. Alright, so we're going to plastic fitting to this brass fitting. And I'm going to cut a little piece of pipe to make it couple up about, I don't want to go too tight in there, so we're going to give it a little bit of a gap between it. So about like that. Then we'll heat this piece up, get that out of the way. It may be warm when we try to pick it up. Now, that's looking good. Now we need a couple of clamps. Let me get down here and get some clamps. I don't bother putting these on first because they just unscrew. Then you put them right back together. Yeah, there went one. And I'm not going to tighten them because something may have to do a little swiveling. That's too far back. Now we got to get a little pipe dope and some Teflon. Good or bad, that's what I'm going to put on there. I should have put that on before I put it together, but I didn't do it. But I'm going to go over to this vise and then I'll be back. All this is, it's a foot valve, check valve. It's got a proper name, but it's a little spring stopper in here, kind of like your bathtub stopper if you was going to manually work it. But this thing's on a spring, so once the water flow stops, it can pop back. so water don't go back in the direction of the well. It's a pretty good idea. I probably should have put that in there before I put it on that plastic pipe, but I think we can be careful and get this thing right in there. I tell you what, why don't we just do it this way? I really don't want to be spinning that. I think they call that a male barbed connection. Or connector. But anyway, it's threaded on one side, it's got the barbs on the other side for this plastic pipe. I'm gonna get down here out of sight for a minute and get a grip on that. Now, I'll get all these clamps put on that side. Now I would say that I'm doing this for myself. I'm not doing this for someone. So, if I've got something wrong, and the right person watches this, or maybe just somebody that stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night, they may want to really have a lot to say. But my thoughts on the matter is, I'm doing this for me. In no way could you consider this a how-to. If it was going to have a label, it would be how I done it for myself. Now, I think that looks pretty good. Long sweep, pipes out of the way. Now we got to get these other pieces put together here, and I'm going to keep this cut off until I get the where it's headed part plumbed up. Eventually we're going to go around this wall, and we're going to go up overhead where it'll be out of the way of everything. In case you hadn't been around before, this shop is 18 feet and a couple of inches to the ceiling. So I got plenty of room up there to put conduit, water lines, air lines, all that good stuff. Now this is I would call it a pop-off valve, but it's a pressure relief valve. And this one is specifically designed for cold water use only. This is not the same one that you would see on your hot water heater. That one's made for hot water. Now I think I got all the parts. Alright, so this piece is your pressure switch. It'll tell you on the box when you look at them. This one is factory set at 40 to come on, 60 to go off. So it's a 40-60 range. And then probably need to get the instructions that come with it, but one of these adjusts both at the same time, and the other one, I can't remember, but it adjusts either the low or the high side only. So you can really adjust the range from 40 to 60 to vary at other points. And then of course this is your gauge, because you don't know where you're at with this switch. This will tell you where you're at. In fact, this gauge could be affected by debris and anything else but water. And it'd probably work on air also. So I'm not going to use the pipe dope on this. I think the technical term would be joint compound. I'm just going to use this Teflon. Now, one part I do know, you go in the direction of your threads with this Teflon tape. Otherwise, when you get it started, it'll just back right off. So this is right hand thread. So I'm going in a right hand twist. And it's soft, real durable, but soft. So you can't put too much on there. It'll just, whatever won't fit in the threads will just, it'll just come right back up. Now you don't want the guys that's pretty rough on stuff to do this because it's kind of fragile. I've seen some awful good pipe fitters on commercial jobs, and they've got little tricks. They don't like to leave a mark on nothing, so they wouldn't use these channel locks, the one size fits all. If you've never been around those people, plumbers are pipe fitters, but pipe fitters are not plumbers. And you better be prepared to hear an earful if you call a pipe fitter a plumber, especially a union guy. They take a lot of pride in not being a plumber. But pride won't pay the bills. The most pride can do is keep a fella mad most of the time. Now this has got a good, probably about a 5/8, maybe 3/4 hex nut on the bottom of it. It's really not a nut, but it's shaped that way for a wrench. But I'm not a pipe fitter or a plumber, and I'm going to use the one size fits all. I do know from experience, though, I told you this wasn't a how-to, but it's what I've seen. This brass nipple, I may be wrong, but I think that's a 1/4 inch pipe thread. It's not a half, but this brass nipple keeps this switch up out of the water flow a little bit, because a lot of these old wells, they'll tend to pump a little bit of other stuff like debris, whatever comes through the ground. And if you get a little trash or a little residue build up on that switch, then it won't work. And when it don't work, you don't have no water. And it don't really matter where you wind up with this thing, just how you want it to look. But right here is where your power comes in and your power goes out. I'm probably going to come in and out of the same hole where I can just carry one flexible, I'll carry a seal-tight flex around to my junction box. So I'll just have one conduit pipe coming over here, and I can have the wires coming and going in the same pipe. I don't know the specifics of all of that, but if you want to look up, Google up conduit capacities, you can find all that stuff out you want to know. All right, I'm a little bit snug. I'm trying to get around here without breaking it, so that's where I'm going to stop. That way I can keep my conduit coming out of the back shortest point possible. Okay, now we need to put these little things on. I usually put about 3 wraps of this Teflon on something. Now this well tee or pressure tank tee, whatever it's known as, it's all open inside. So it don't matter, or it don't matter to me, where all this goes. It just needs to fit in the hole that's got its size. I think by codes, this pressure relief valve is supposed to be piped somewhere to a drain or something. If you have codes, you may want to check that out. This is a nice hose bib. 90 degrees, you're off or you're on. I'm going to assume that crossways is off. We need to adjust this right here. Alright, so that's going to conclude this. I got to tighten this up, then I'm going to temporarily run some wire over here and run this thing a little bit. So I always like to check a few things before we get too far. And if you'll notice, I just moved this handle, because to cut it off, it was going to hit this little nipple for my pressure switch. So you can turn them 180 degrees, and that's fine. And with the ball valve, handle in line with the pipe, it's on. Handle perpendicular to the pipe, it's off. So next part's the electrical, and we'll just get back to that. Thank y'all for watching.